All right, so this video is about what you should do as a runner when you've had a calf strain. And the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is when you start feeling a little bit in your calf on a run. This is something that you need to take note of. And this is a common thing that we've heard with patients throughout the year is when they have a calf injury, they could kind of see it coming. And as a runner, I get it. There's times where you feel little aches and pain, and that is part of running sometimes. You're like, oh, you head out on a run, you're like, oh, that's weird. I feel a little something. And you tend to run through it a little bit. And I think that's okay as long as that little discomfort goes away after a minute or two. But if it's something where you're like, yeah, I did this workout where I was running and I maybe had some strides at the end, or I was doing a little bit more hills, or maybe it was just one of your normal runs, and you feel like some tightness in your calf. It didn't make you stop, but it was there pretty significant part of your run. That is something you need to take note of and back off just a little bit. And maybe assess it, do a couple shorter runs and see if it's still there. Maybe rest a little bit to make sure that that goes away before just completely ignoring it, okay? Now, if you unfortunately do strain your calf and it's a significant strain, like it's something where you have to stop running or you cut your your distance short in a way, then the things I'm about to go over are kind of what you need to do while you're recovering from it. And this is a common mistake that we see so many people make is, and I'm guilty of it too, right? We all are as athletes, but it's like when you injure something, your initial thing is like, well, I'm gonna rest for like a week and do nothing, no running, no exercise, nothing. I'm just gonna do nothing. And then in maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, I'm just gonna go right back to where I was, right? Where it's like, hey, if my average run was running 7 or 8 miles, then I'm gonna rest for 2 weeks and then just go run 7 or 8 miles again and see if it miraculously went away during that time. And the mistake with this is you have to do things during that rest period. And that's what I'm gonna show you today is like, what should you be doing while you're recovering other than just passively waiting? Because what happens is then when you go right back to where you were, you just strain it again. And then you try it again, like maybe I'll wait another 2 weeks. Then you try it, nope, strain again. And so you just kind of repeatedly keep aggravating the same injury over and over again. And then you're 6 weeks of this and you're really mad and frustrated and you've lost all your training for whatever race you're doing. So it's really important that you do rest, right? And it's a dirty word for all of us. None of us really want to rest. We want to be able to run and do our thing. But what's important is what you do during that rest period in time, okay? Now, to give you a little bit of anatomy here on the calf strain, right? This big muscle here that you can see, this is the gastroc. That's what we most commonly think as is the calf muscle. And this one is a little more commonly strained during quicker movements, or let's say you were jumping or running uphill and you feel like a real sudden sharp pain. That tends to be more the gastroc. And then if we take the gastroc off, then you'll see this muscle here underneath. That's called the soleus. And this is a little bit more the endurance muscle. It tends to come on a little bit more slowly and build over time. And that muscle can also be affected when you're having a calf strain. So that's a little bit of the anatomy. Those are the two different muscles, the gastroc and the soleus. And it comes on a little bit different, more sharp with the gastroc, more dull aching with the soleus over a long period of time. But pretty much the treatment's the same for both of them. Okay, so let's head over here and we'll start doing some of the things that you need to start doing while you're recovering from a calf strain. All right, so sometimes when you strain your calf, it is really severe in that you're maybe limping. I mean, if you can tear your calf without tearing your Achilles, and for that, the treatment is, and you'll know this when it happens, sometimes you'll actually feel a loud pop. It'll be really painful. You'll immediately have to stop doing what you're doing, and that does require a boot. And commonly, you can be in the boot for 4 to 6 weeks. That is a severe calf strain. Now, You can strain your calf so severe that it doesn't need to be in a boot, but you're still having trouble walking. It's hard to put some weight on it. So a lot of times just getting the person moving their leg at all is a first step. And so the first thing I would have people do a lot of times is just do what we call an ankle alphabet, is that you kind of use your big toe as if it was a Sharpie and just kind of make like a capital A, capital B, capital C, okay? And all that does is just get you afraid of moving your calf at all, okay? And just going up and down, just gently contracting that muscle. That would be the first step in a severe calf strain. Now, the next thing in a severe calf strain, let's say that that's too easy, is sometimes just having a little bit of resistance to the calf, and you can use a band and just put it around your toes. And you're just going to hold it there with just a little bit of slack and just go back and forth, right? And this is key. This is the key thing that we're trying to do while you rest, right? You have to continue to engage the muscle and try to slowly build it up so that when you return to running, that there's something there to support it, not just rest and then return to running. The muscle won't be strong again because you've rested it so much, okay? So just doing a little banded press downs with your foot to get that calf going would be the kind of step number 2. And again, just doing like 2 or 3 sets of 25 or 30 of those. The next thing that you want to do to start engaging the calf muscles is to just do some double-legged heel raises, okay? So even when the calf is fairly compromised, because you strain just one calf at a time. If you strain 2 calves at a time, that'd be crazy. But I suppose someone probably has done it, but usually it's just one. And so you're going to use, let's say I strain my right calf. I'm actually using my left calf to help the right calf up and down through that range of motion. So I'm starting to strengthen the right calf gently, but the left is doing a lot of the work. So you're going to do that in standing with your knee straight. That's mostly going to be hitting the gastroc, okay? So that would be the first step with that. Again, 3 sets of 20 or so, something like that would be a good number. Now, before we move on, this is something I just want to address now that I'm thinking about it, is people always ask about stretching. Should I stretch my calf strain? So if you think about it, right, like if this is your calf and you strained it, and let's say that strain, we'll call that just like a little tear, the last thing you'd really want to be doing is like taking that tear and pulling it apart further. So, you know, it's people want to stretch everything, but there's sometimes where it is not helpful, and this is one of those areas. You can do, I mean, just a very gentle kind of stretch like this, I would say, right, with the knee bent, knee straight, but you don't want to do it when there's a little bit of a tear there. Okay, so now that we've addressed stretching, let's get back to the exercises, right? So we did the standing heel raises with both feet, okay? And the progression for this would then obviously be to go to just one foot. So again, if it was my right, then I would do this. Specifically for runners, one I really like to do is, and this kind of just, I like it because it puts you in a little bit more of an upright position and with your leg up as if you were in the running position to do your single leg heel raises. You put your hands behind your head like this, so you're pressing straight up into the air and just going up and down like this for that single leg calf raise. Okay, so again, trying to get up to doing at least 3 sets of 20 or 25 of those to really make sure that muscle is working. The other thing that I want to do is to work the soleus, and to do that, you're actually going to do that seated. You could even take some weights like some kettlebells and put them on your knees and hold them there, or a barbell. And you're going to do that same heel raise motion with both legs first, just like the standing ones, and then do it single leg to get the muscle going, the soleus muscle working. Another way that you can do the soleus is to do the standing heel raise, but with your knee bent. So when you bend your knee, you're taking the gastroc, the work of the gastroc off, and then you're going to do this up and down with your knees bent. And again, 3 sets of 20 to get that calf muscle really going. So after we kind of work, you should be able to be doing those standing straight-legged heel raises, bent-legged heel raises, seated heel raises. Once you can do like 3 sets of 20 of those without pain, then you want to start doing some more impact stuff like jumping. And so usually where I start people is, it's like jumping rope, but it would just be double leg jumps. Again, the strong leg is helping to support the injured leg, and you're just doing like really quick little hops like this, okay? Up and down, and to try to get some of that quick motion of the calf that you're gonna be using in running going. Just like with the calf raises, you're basically gonna then progress that from double leg to single leg, so then you're gonna be doing single leg hops, okay? And I would try to do them for at least like a minute, 3 times a minute, to really build up that endurance of that calf muscle with that exercise. So that, and then those two, what I would say is like the single leg heel raises and the single leg hopping are what are kind of a criteria that we tend to use before we allow people to run. Because that's the thing, it's like, all right, so you're telling me these are the things I need to do while I'm resting, not just resting, but do some things while I'm resting. How do I know when I can start running again? So you need to be able to do, right, at least 2-3 sets of 20 to 25 of these without pain, and then at least 3 sets of 1 minute of single leg hopping without pain. Those are what we want people to be able to do before they start running. Now the key is when you start running is make sure that you ease back into it, right? Just don't head right back out and do what you're doing. Make sure you're running flat. Make sure that even, I would say, go back even to a walking and jogging interval, right? Warm up with a couple minutes of walking, then jog for a minute or two. Walk, jog, back and forth, 20 or 30 minutes. So the key is to start really slow to allow your body to get used to that running motion again, or your calf back to that running motion again. And that's key. And then along with, a lot of times with our patients, along with this really isolated calf stuff that we're doing while they're doing this resting period, especially if it's a little bit more, it's a longer rehab from this, we're also doing just a variety of lower extremity strengthening exercises, which is outside the scope of this video, just to help them get overall stronger, which will help them also with their running form. So if you're a runner and you're having some calf pain, hopefully this showed you a couple things that you need to be able to do and avoid that big mistake of only resting, but make sure that while you're resting from your calf strain, you're doing these things. Make sure then that you can do the hopping and the single leg, and then ease back into that running really slowly, and hopefully you'll be back running again in no time.